You're listening to the Zipline Logistics Truck Yeah podcast, where we explore all kinds of hot topics in the logistics industry. Get ready to learn, laugh, and get your freight on. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the Zipline Logistics podcast. My name is Jesse Jewett. We have a special guest with us today. I'd like to introduce one of Zipline's co-founders, JJ Rodeheffer. JJ, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for coming. Right off the rip, founder, almost 16 years ago in June. We've worked together almost 11 years. Long history. I like to reference I was employee number 20. You were one of employees number 3. 1, 2, and 3. So that's exciting. Lot of experiences. When I started, I was married, 0 children. I now have 2. I am moved into my second house. We now have our second dog, Teddy.
Unmarried, no children, living at home when I first started.
I remember meeting both of you. I remember the exact time, place, how we met, who introduced us. I remember all of that vividly.
Yeah. It's been a run. All right, that's the podcast. No, just kidding. We're moving on. We really want to talk about the infancy, the inception of Zipline, and then the progression of the last 16 years and where we're at today. So, in your words, JJ, since you were one of the co-founders, what led to the idea of Zipline?
Yeah. So I got hired in the 3PL world right out of Miami University, Miami, Ohio, at the largest 3PL in Chicago. And through training, I quickly realized that the customer sales side was something that I wanted to pursue. So after 5 years of selling 3PL services to shippers, I got to meet Andrew Lynch, one of my co-founders and best friends, and simply said, hey, I don't love this anymore. I call my clients at the end of every day and tell them that 4 or 5 trucks won't be showing up. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have any control over that. And so we kind of started talking about, is there a place in the market for great capacity, right? So better quality trucks, mm-hmm. and shippers who demand great service to unite in a 3PL to, kind of be the middleman for that. So, soon thereafter, in 2007, we started Zipline.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting you talk about the calling the people at the end of the day, right? It sounds like, were you selling to a specific group of customers? Were you selling to everybody?
Yeah, great question. No, in the end, one of the biggest hurdles at such a large brokerage is there weren't a lot of leads to call. Right, yeah. They had so many salespeople that all the leads were tagged in someone's name, and that was the biggest issue. I still remember some of my meetings with my one of my first managers, and he's like, you need to do more sales calls. I'm like, I want to. I want to make money, right? And I want to provide, the JJ service within CH Robinson to these shippers. Yep. But it was very difficult to find people to call. That's also overlooked when you go into a big organization like that. Yep. You're almost have an internal battle before you even start your external battle. Yeah. We're luckily small enough that if a sales rep comes here, they can call on nearly anyone. We only ship for a couple hundred clients.
I like that. Where did the name Zipline come from?
Yeah, sure. So we're early to mid 20s, and put this business plan on paper, and we had a placeholder for a name because we couldn't come up with anything that we thought was cool. And 30 days before we launched, brainstorming, I had gone on a couple vacations to Costa Rica. And Costa Rica at the time was this emerging country and had a handful of Zipline courses or tours that you could take. Yeah. And, I kind of threw it out there like, hey, zip means fast, and line kind of relates to truck line. What do you guys think about Zipline? And it didn't take really any deliberation. We all just kind of looked at it and said, man, love it. And that was that. It just happened like that.
29, 30 days left before you started.
Yeah.
That was the nothing like the last minute.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, those first few years, you talked about calling on everybody, as many people as you could at your previous role. At Zipline, was that the same in the beginning? Was it the same plan?
Yeah, I mean, it's 2007, so it was about 6 months before the recession hit.
Yeah.
That really sidelined a lot of American industry. So we were really doing anything we could to match up good quality trucks and shippers. But what we realized in that first year or two is that our idea worked. There were shippers out there that needed a great value, of course, good rates. But they wanted to make sure their product got there. I can still remember one of our first clients who still ships with us today, shipped product into Abbott Labs for their manufacturing of their baby formula, and it was critical that they had good quality trucks and that it arrived on time for Abbott's production. So that's someone that stands out, and it kind of snowballed from there. And quickly thereafter, we realized that the CPG market, finished goods that need to be on a store shelf, was a great fit for us, and we were off and running. And today, I'm proud to say that's what we do.
Yeah.
We help, whether it's food or beverage or retail, but products that end up on a store shelf, need to be on the store shelf to be purchased. Those are the brands that we work best with.
I like that. So that's the evolution. Here we are 16 years later. We are targeting CPG shippers, just like you mentioned. What do you see as some of the biggest problems that we're solving on a day-to-day basis? You already touched on, like, out of stocks, getting the product on the shelf, right? Anything else that comes to mind?
Well, we do a pretty much 3 different relationships with customers, right? We can be a complete outsource, right? A managed transportation where if it's shipped within your organization, we manage it for you.
Yep.
Then we have, secondary relationships where maybe we manage a significant portion or a specific portion. So let's say Walmart is an issue for a shipper where we just say, hey, we don't expect you to give all of your freight to us, right? Maybe you're a multi-billion-dollar organization and you want to, continue to have multiple carriers in your network. But if Walmart's your challenge, give us Walmart and let us show you what we do for you. Or there's mega shippers, right, that have 50 plus carriers in their network, but we become the most trusted carrier within their organization, and we can manage a significant piece of the pie. So we can be a transactional provider, or we can manage 100% of your freight. We've done a really good job, I think, of finding what shippers are looking for and then tailoring it to their solutions. So it's been fun to kind of evolve as we're either everything or just one of a handful of carriers, or we manage a specific section of your business.
Yeah. I think one of the greatest lines that I've used in my 11 years here is that we're small enough to be nimble, but we're big enough that we compete on a daily basis with the other big box 3PLs out there. And that's served us really, really well. And that 3-pronged approach definitely hits on that.
Yeah, I mean, our largest customer is a $10 billion organization. So we certainly fit in well with big shippers. But you got to know how to navigate their network and find your way, because you certainly aren't going to be everything to everyone.
So knowing that we deliver, mentioned CPG, already touched on Walmart, big box retailers that we specialize in. How do we navigate that, or what hint technology are we using to improve the lives of our transportation professional customers?
Yeah, so we've tailored an internal product that we've built around our CPG shippers. It's called Canopy, spelled with a K. The emphasis on the K and the P and the I, so emphasize KPIs. And that product is used internally for our operators. Right, we've got some DFM products in there for our carrier sales team, some gamification, right, for them to compete internally. Our customer operations team uses Canopy to identify outliers and make sure all of our data is matching up. They also use it for any sort of track and trace. And then, most importantly, they use it for any review calls, right? So we're honing in on all the specific shippers' KPIs, whether it's cost per skid or cost per skid per mile or cost per case or cost per case into Walmart versus cost per case into Costco, or cost per case, Walmart, New Caney, Texas versus cost
Yeah.
per case to the Tomah, Wisconsin.
How
right?
deep do you want to go?
Yeah.
Yep.
I think the best part about Canopy is that our team uses it. We don't just like hand the keys to the Corvette to the shipper and say, hey, here's our software, good luck. We really use it on a day-to-day or in all of our review calls.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm most proud of. But Canopy was built by our customers, right? We do it, but they tell us what is most important to them, and we've tailored it to that. So, I always joke, like if you're a CPG shipper considering a new carrier in your network, it blows my mind that we don't get a shot, right? Because this is all we do. At the very least, you should take a look at what we're doing for these other brands and making them successful. And I've joked with some of our shippers that they would rather hoard us for themselves.
Yeah.
Right? They don't want other shippers to have it because they want us all to themselves. But hey, that'll evolve over time as we continue to grow.
That evolution of Canopy specifically, it certainly mirrors in some elements the evolution of Zipline as a company, which is really exciting to be a part of, right? As you talked about in the beginning, it was really like touching on maybe 1 to 3 of our bigger clients, and now it's expanded into every one of our clients has some sort of view of Canopy, and it's tailored to them, and they can use it how they want to use it, which I think is super, super cool. If some people just want to focus on the summit, the track and trace portion, because they want visibility to their day-to-day shipments, great. If another company wants visibility to the KPIs like you mentioned, they can use that. That's awesome. Another group can look at the accounting department and pull their PODs because they want to, process those really, really quickly. Or ideally, obviously, you're using that whole functions there, which is just awesome. And it's been a really cool part to be a part of that evolution over the last, 7 years, 8 years that we've been developing it. The future of Zipline. What do you see in the future? What initiatives are you excited about?
When I think about my role here, which is to ensure our account managers are giving our most important clients everything that they need, asking those difficult questions and planning for the future. What I think the future looks like for us is ensuring that shippers know that if you get quoted $300 for a shipment, what do you get with that? Do you get a rate and a truck? Sometimes you get a truck. Right? And because we exclusively focus on CPG, we really start backwards and we look at the customer and say, hey, how are you performing for Costco? Mm-hmm. And because Costco tells you, right, you have a scorecard if you're a brand in there. And what's causing that performance? So are you showing up on time? Is your product delivering in full?
Yep.
Because if it's not, you're going to get fines and chargebacks. And those fines and chargebacks are exponentially higher than the difference between a truck for $300 that might show up and a truck for $350 that will show up. Mm-hmm. And it still boggles my mind, right? Talking to shippers, especially in a market like this where the freight market is a little deflationary, where the comment comes out like, hey, you're for $350, but this guy's $300. Can you get there? And my question is like, what are you getting with that $300 versus what are you getting with that $350?
Yeah.
Right. And believe me, I totally understand that $50 difference adds up.
Right.
Right. Whether it's 10 loads, 100 loads, 1,000 loads. But the difference between being 98% on time versus 88% on time is tens, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And so I find that the C-suite at a brand is pushing down on the transportation decision makers to cut out pennies.
Yeah.
When in 3 months, you've got this deteriorated relationship with Costco because you are at 82% on time and there's another brand in your market looking for your shelf space.
Right.
And so that's a challenge for us, right? So we solve that by trying to sell into the C-suite because I tell you, a CFO or a director of financial planning and analysis, they understand that, but we're a line item. Transportation costs. So sometimes it's hard to break into those walls. Mm-hmm. It's gotten even more difficult with COVID because a lot of our brands, were exploding, and so they hired remote. So now you don't have the true office environment for these brands to collaborate. And so I love when I get a chance to talk to a CFO or someone in the C-suite Just yesterday, we had the president of a multi-$100-million organization at Zipline.
On site, yeah.
He gets it.
Right.
He understands what we're talking about, hence him carving out 4 hours in his day when he's really leading the entire brand, not just transportation, because he's seen these finds.
Yeah.
And he understands what our message looks like. And maybe instead of spending $50,000 a month, you spend 55 or whatever the number may be, but you get it back in spades to ensure your brand is on shelf, on time in full. So, of course, you want a good relationship with your customer, right? The Costco and the brand.
Yeah.
But you also want that performance. That's all margin for that brand.
Yeah.
And they are just losing out on that by chasing the cheapest truck.
Right.
And listen, that's our message these days. I came from the biggest. We were the cheapest. And that was great when I was selling to a metals company, right, or a wire reel company. And we're still uber competitive today, right? We participate in bids against the biggest or the smallest, and we are successful in that front. So our pricing is really fair, but we just don't lead with that, right? We lead with, how do we improve your margin? I can do that by everything that our team, our solution of Canopy, and our tailorization, right? Our tailoring the logistics to the brands. It's very effective, and we have tons of case studies to share. But that's when I get most excited. Yeah. That's what I see the future of us when we continue to grow. It's brands looking for that value set.
Yeah.
We can 100% deliver that to them. And I get most excited about that.
Those partnerships, yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I'm ready to run through a wall. I just want to throw it out on the podcast to give us a call, 888-GO-ZIPLINE, or visit us at www.ziplinelogistics.com. You can talk to JJ, maybe not right away, but you can go through a Canopy demo. We'd love to show you that software and how it works for you and what we can do for you. What else did I miss? Did I miss anything?
I'll just say that, the time I was introduced to Teddy when she was a personal shopper living at home, or when Jesse and I met for a beer at Bernard's Tavern on High Street in Columbus. Mm-hmm. I don't forget those moments. And, the 110 people that we have here, that's been the true joy of the 15 years of building these relationships. And I'm so proud of what we've done. I'm so proud of what we're going to do. And I'm just delighted to see the, evolution in your guys' lives.
Yeah.
Careers, of course. But, you mentioned new kids and new husbands and new life moments.
Yeah.
And that's been, sheer joy as a co-founder of a business.
Yeah, it's been awesome to be a part of. Well, thanks for joining us. That wraps it up on another edition of the Zipline Logistics podcast. We'll see you next time.